Unite Here, Local 23 in D.C. is still fighting for the jobs of Senate dining workers who were just hit with another round of layoffs and are now planning to start disrupting things.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Last week in Southern Labor is a segment that we do every week, mostly, where we tell you what happened in the labor movement in the South. We pull the information from Jonah Furman's newsletter with his permission, Who Gets the Bird?, which compiles all of the information about what's going on in the labor movement for the entire United States. So if you want to see what's going on outside the South, then you should subscribe to his newsletter at whogetstthebird.substack.com. And with that, let's jump into new organizing for the weeks of July 2nd through the 16th. There are new shops organizing with the Amazon Labor Union, including in Campbellsville, Kentucky. Very exciting about that. And outside of the Amazon Labor Union, Alex Press has a useful profile on the Garner, North Carolina union effort at an Amazon warehouse. You can also go back and listen to our interview with one of the union organizers from that plant if you would like. It's on YouTube, Facebook, and wherever you get your podcasts. 600 nurses at the Ascension Seton Medical Center in Austin, Texas are organizing with National Nurses United, which would be the biggest win in the Fort Worth region of the NLRB since 2014. 210 Starbucks workers at 9 stores, including one in Lafayette, Louisiana, have formally joined the Starbucks Workers United drive. 18 workers for Stone Products Company Oldcastle in Lylesville, North Carolina, are unionizing with Teamsters Local 171. 17 workers for Maytag Aircraft at Fort Hood, Texas, are unionizing with the Machinists Union. 14 workers for Sixt Rent-A-Car in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, are unionizing with Teamsters Local 769. 7 lab workers for Roanoke Cement Company in Troutville, Virginia, are organizing with Boilermakers Local D314. And 2 First Student School Bus Mechanics in Atlanta, Georgia, are unionizing with Teamsters Local 728. In election wins and losses in the past couple of weeks, Starbucks Workers United went 6-6 over the past 2 weeks, with 272 workers at 12 stores voting a cumulative 92-58 for the union, but none of those were in the South. 6 building engineers at the Thompson Hotel in D.C. voted 5-1 to join Operating Engineers Local 99. 60 guards at the National Gallery of Arts in Washington, D.C. are joining Protective Service Officers United. In updates on strikes and bargaining, Joe Biden has awoken from his slumber to stop a 120,000 worker rail strike that otherwise could have begun as soon as Monday morning. That this was basically totally expected by everyone involved, and that this is not a final injunction against the strike or anything but part of the unbelievably convoluted bureaucratic process that covers rail and airline union negotiations in this country. That does not make it any less true that Biden is denying over 100,000 workers their human right to withhold their labor, and we should not forget that. What happens next is Biden's Presidential Emergency Board has 30 days to make recommendations, which will then initiate another 30-day cooling-off period for the unions and freight rail carriers to consider the recommendations, at which point, a maximum of 60 days from yesterday, as we understand it, a strike could be back on the table, though most likely won't be, but the predictions game is not an easy one to win. This time around, the Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers formally authorized the strike, and at least some of the BMWE members rallied, but there was not a serious strike mobilization since everybody knew what Biden was going to do, if nothing else. We'll see if over the next 2 months the dozen other unions make formal moves, which could be an indicator of whether or not there could actually be a work stoppage. But
And last week we spoke with Mel about the railway industry and went into a little bit more detail about this contract fight and what could happen. So if you missed that, check it out from last week.
And it really helps she really helps put a human face on what Biden is doing, on what the rail bosses are doing by just grinding rail workers to dust. I mean, it's really, really disgusting what the bosses are doing and what Biden is enabling them to do by stopping them from striking, by saying you can't go on strike right now.
And what Biden could also do through this emergency board is more or less give the unions what they're asking for, give the workers what they're asking for. And I think it's pretty clear that all of their requests could be granted and the rail operators would still be profitable.
Of course.
So there is still opportunity for the Biden administration to come on down on the side of working class people and help these union members while also helping our supply chain.
Yeah. More and more Starbucks Workers United members are going on strike, including in Atlanta and Augusta, Georgia, in the last couple of weeks. I was at the Union Augusta location a few weeks ago while I was on a trip for work, so that's pretty cool. Would have been nice to have been able to walk the picket line with them, but happy for them. Over 270 workers from military contractor General Dynamics in Marion, Virginia, have been on strike with UAW Local 2850 for over 2.5 weeks. Maybe they can find a few pennies in the $839 billion defense bill that Congress just passed.
Maybe.
Meanwhile, a similar number of workers with Steelworkers Local 1449 at Collins Aerospace in Union, West Virginia, another military contractor, have been locked out for over 2 months. Janitors in Miami with SEIU Local 32BJ say they have been retaliated against for going on strike. Amazon workers walked off on Prime Day in Doraville, Georgia, with the fantastic slogan, "Pay us or chaos," as they pushed for a $3 an hour raise. Dollar General workers with Fight for 15 went on strike for higher wages and safer working conditions in Holly Hill, South Carolina. IWW movie theater workers at the Alamo Draft House in Austin, Texas, are pushing for recognition and walked off the job after the company fired one of their members. Transit workers in D.C. with ATU Local 689, the Amalgamated Transit Union, have authorized a strike, while St. Louis drivers apparently organized a mass sick-out with the Amalgamated Transit Union Local 788 as they try to settle a contract. Unite Here, Local 23 in D.C. is still fighting for the jobs of Senate dining workers who were just hit with another round of layoffs despite congressional intervention and are now planning to start disrupting things. And they did just that last week with a demonstration that saw some congresspeople being arrested. In contract ratifications, as expected, but not by a massive margin, Teamster car haulers ratified their national deal, and Red Cross Teamsters also ratified their contract by a much larger margin. The Airline Pilots Association at United Airlines voted down their most recent contract, sending the union and the company back to the negotiating table, and Treasury Department workers with the National Treasury Employees Union are fighting over the role remote work will play in the future. Negotiations are rocky between schools and Brevard Federation of Teachers in Brevard County, Florida. And then finally, in internal union politics, the United Auto Workers Convention starts next week. Next week will mostly be about resolution fights, though with the nomination threshold so low, just the support of one delegate is required to get on the ballot. It's possible that there could be some surprise candidates. The real fun begins post-convention when candidates will have about 2 months to campaign before voting starts, and the whole thing theoretically will be wrapped up by the end of November. The stakes are extremely high as the Big Three contract expires in September of 2023, and the United Auto Workers desperately needs to pull out of its tailspin of both membership numbers and basic morale. You can read Jonah's rundown about what to expect from the convention in Labor Notes. AFGE and its Council 118, the ICE union, are parting ways with the American Federation of Government Employees, filing paperwork with the Federal Labor Relations Authority last week to remove the union from its membership after the ICE union filed a complaint with the Department of Labor. Good riddance.
Absolutely. Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Yep.
Or maybe you should.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.